Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk all things major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and today it appears we might have a confirmed casting for Wonder Man in the MCU. And it turns out it might be an Aquaman star as the newest MCU superhero. So we're going to go over the news today, tell you who could be playing Wonder Man, and why Wonder Man is such an important character for the current MCU. The overall storyline, the character, and the direction of the MCU has changed drastically since we've entered Phase 4, leaving the Infinity Saga in its first 3 phases behind and mastering up this whole new story arc, which has had a very long and lengthy trial building stage moment with Stage 4, which is soon to come to an end with the releasing of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and then finally followed up by the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. So we will be moving into Phase 5, and Phase 6 seems to be like it will be releasing Wonder Man. Wonder Man is an important character for the Scarlet Witch, for the mystical side of the MCU, and we're going to dive into all of that right now. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the other major movie and television news updates happening daily here on the channel. You can also follow me on my other socials, Instagram at Chris M. Rosser and Twitter at The Culture Chris. Links to both of those are in the description down below if you'd like to check them out. Now, with many different projects already having been announced for the MCU for Disney+, like Agatha, Ironheart, Armor Wars, and many others, it's hard really to grasp excitement around individual projects that haven't even been announced yet, like Wonder Man. However, Wonder Man has a very important role potentially to play in the MCU as a potential love interest for the Scarlet Witch. Now, I know everybody thinks maybe Wanda's dead after what happened in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but I think we can all agree that that's very unlikely. There's a pretty important rule with Marvel projects and Marvel characters: if you don't physically see the character die, they're not dead. And a rock falling on a big red light does not count as physically seeing the character die. And honestly, even with the rule of actually seeing them die, that sometimes isn't really dead either. In the MCU, nobody's truly ever dead. Characters will be brought back and used as required. And with the multiverse being open, any version of Wanda really could show up, including one who is in a romantic setting with Wonder Man. Now, Wonder Man has been on the table for joining the MCU since Guardians of the Galaxy back in 2017, Volume 2. And James Gunn actually had a cast individual, Nathan Fillion, who was going to play the role. However, the idea behind this character has changed drastically since then, and now it seems like, according to a report coming from Deadline, that Marvel has cast Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as the lead in the upcoming Wonder Man series on Disney+. Now, if you don't recognize who he was in the Aquaman movie, he was Black Manta, one of the main villains of that project, and he will also be making an appearance in Aquaman's second movie releasing in 2023, again as Black Manta. Now, this will be his first role in the MCU, and it is an important role. So let's talk a little bit about Wonder Man, or Simon Williams. Now, he inherited his father's industrial munitions plant after his father died, and his older brother Eric did not want to take it over. Now, I want to try to keep this whole origin story pretty brief, but he ends up going to jail for embezzlement. He blames Tony Stark, Iron Man, who is a member of the Avengers in the comics at the time, and he was eventually released from jail by the help of Baron Zemo and his Masters of Evil. So Simon agrees to undergo an experiment to give him superpowers, and then Zemo made all of this happen. He ended up becoming Wonder Man. That is the very, very fast version of how he gets his powers in one of the comic book runs. Now, he's considered to be a relatively powerful character, but eventually he ends up making his way from being part of the Masters of Evil with Zemo to the Avengers. In fact, he's one of the first Avengers to set up shop on the West Coast, which eventually led to the beginning of the West Coast Avengers, which, as you know, a certain version of Vision is a part of. Now, this is what we have in the MCU as the White Vision, who loses his internal mind as we know it and becomes more of an actual robot, forgetting the emotions that he was able to develop and becoming lifeless. Now, this spirals eventually in a very complicated manner into an odd, complex love triangle between Vision, the Scarlet Witch, and Wonder Man. Now, this is very important because this is where we are in the MCU. Now, assuming, which I do, that the Scarlet Witch is still alive, she's going to be very involved with Wonder Man and the West Coast Adventures, including maybe White Vision, who we're hearing is going to be getting his own series as well, explaining where he's been and what he's been up to, eventually leading to them all joining and maybe forming the West Coast Avengers. During this moment, perhaps the Scarlet Witch has moved out to the West Coast, maybe in order to find Vision, or to start over anew, or to remain in hiding, but will somehow get entangled in this interesting love triangle. Now, this is where we can kind of run off of the information we know from the comics and the current status of the MCU. We know several things will be happening. One, Agatha, House of Harkness is happening, and we're definitely diving deeper into the mythical, magical, mummies, scary, monster MCU side of things, hopefully eventually leading to the Midnight Suns, but we'll get to that later on. With all of that dark mythical stuff, we know that Wanda probably won't be too far away, and her overall involvement in the MCU, I believe, is still very important, even though they're trying to make us think that she's, dead. A, she's not. B, the multiverse allows us to have any character return in any form that they need to. We've already seen an exact version of the Scarlet Witch as Elizabeth Olsen, maybe not the Scarlet Witch like she was in the MCU as a Nexus being, but with her magical powers being the Scarlet Witch. Hopefully that makes sense, but it does get a little confusing when we start throwing Nexus beings and the sacred timeline and the variants and all of that in it. However, the Scarlet Witch is 100% accessible and alive. Now, her returning to the screen would be interesting to see if she's trying to find Vision so that she continue her relationship with him. She is obviously deeply and madly in love with him, the whole WandaVision scenario, where she turned him into a dream vision of death and destruction. Then White Vision was made, and that's what we have now. Cool, awesome, understand that. But if she can somehow become romantically involved with Wonder Man, this helps us connect to other parts of the MCU. Now, in the comic, Baron Zemo and the Master of Evil was how he escaped prison, but perhaps it will be Baron Zemo and the Thunderbolts, since Masters of Evil isn't a thing, and Baron Zemo is more likely to join the Thunderbolts than a group that doesn't exist. We know a Thunderbolts project is coming. We know that Thunderbolt Ross has been recasted as Harrison Ford, so they obviously have some very big and important plans for that character, that role, Red Hulk, and the other members who were introduced to be joining, such as US Agent, the new Black Widow, Ghost, and others. Who wasn't on that list was Baron Zemo, and we expected him to be, and we know he's held up well in Raft, where Thunderbolt Ross certainly has access to, and probably clearance to get him out in order to join this top secret military group, the Thunderbolts. With all that being said, just because he wasn't announced at D23 certainly does not mean that he won't be involved in the Thunderbolts when the time comes, which would be a direct connection to Wonder Man, based off of what we know from the comics. So a lot of exciting things to happen. I don't think we should expect Wonder Man until Phase 6, maybe Phase 7, depending on how they plan on wrapping up things into the Secret Wars storyline, but we're gonna have to wait for all of those details. Hearing now that the Aquaman actor for Black Manta, Yahya, will be joining the MCU and playing Wonder Man definitely gets us excited as they are pushing forward with the storyline, the writing, the production, and hopefully we'll start getting more information as that happens. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you excited for this casting? And are you excited for this character to join the MCU, potentially tying the Scarlet Witch into the broader, bigger team-up story of the MCU? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you to everybody who watched till the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell. And I'll catch all of you guys in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.